The average American will earn approximately $2 million over the course of their working life. $2 million. That number sounds like freedom, doesn't it? It sounds like options, like security, like the ability to build something meaningful and pass it down to your children. Yet the median American retires with less than $200,000 in savings, and nearly 40% of Americans cannot cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something they own. $2 million flows through their hands, and almost none of it stays. This is not an accident. This is not because Americans are financially illiterate, though the system certainly benefits from keeping them that way. This is not because people are lazy or undisciplined or make too many poor choices at the checkout counter. The reason $2 million enters and exits the average American life with almost nothing to show for it is because the entire financial architecture of this country, from the tax code to the monetary policy to the credit system, was engineered with one primary objective: to ensure that working people spend everything they earn every single month for their entire lives. You are not participating in a neutral economic system. You are participating in a wealth extraction machine so elegant, so invisible, that most people defend it while it slowly bleeds them dry. My name is Godwin. Today, I am dissecting the three invisible pillars that keep the American working class permanently broke: the tax system, the inflation mechanism, and consumer debt architecture. These three forces work in perfect coordination, and understanding how they interact is the difference between spending 40 years on a hedonic treadmill and actually building generational wealth. If you value high-level financial clarity over surface-level noise, if you want to understand how capital actually moves in this country rather than how they tell you it moves, you may want to join this network by subscribing. Let us begin. The first pillar of the invisible system is taxation, and I need you to understand something that will fundamentally shift how you view your relationship with money. The American tax system was not designed to fund the government. The government can print money whenever it wants, and it does constantly. The tax system was designed to modify behavior, to encourage certain economic activities and discourage others. And when you examine which activities are rewarded and which are punished, a disturbing pattern emerges. The tax code punishes labor and rewards capital ownership. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is written explicitly into the Internal Revenue Code, and it has been this way for over a century. When you work a 9-to-5 job, when you trade your time and energy and health for a paycheck, you are taxed at ordinary income rates. Depending on your bracket, the federal government takes between 10 and 37% of every dollar you earn through labor. Add state income tax, and in places like California or New York, you are handing over nearly half of your earnings before you even see them. But here is where the asymmetry becomes obscene. When you own assets and those assets appreciate in value, you pay nothing until you sell them. And when you do sell them, if you held them for more than a year, you pay long-term capital gains rates, which max out at 20% for most people. The wealthy do not even sell their assets. They borrow against them at interest rates far lower than any tax rate, and they live off that borrowed money while their assets continue to appreciate tax-free. When they die, those assets pass to their heirs with a stepped-up cost basis, meaning the entire lifetime of gains is never taxed, not deferred, erased. This is not a loophole. This is a system functioning exactly as designed. The message encoded into the tax code is crystal clear. If you work for money, we will take half. If you make money work for you, we will take almost nothing. The working class is taxed on their labor. The ownership class is taxed on their patience. And patience, when you already have capital, costs nothing. Now layer on top of this the payroll taxes that most Americans do not even think about because they never see that money in the first place. Social Security and Medicare taxes consume another 7.5% of your income, and your employer pays a matching 7.5%, which economists universally agree is money that would otherwise go to your wages. So the true tax on your labor is even higher than your pay stub suggests. You are paying into a Social Security system that, according to the trustees' own reports, will only be able to pay about 80% of promised benefits by 2034. You are funding your own future poverty. Meanwhile, investment income is exempt from payroll taxes entirely. A hedge fund manager earning $20 million in carried interest pays no Social Security tax on that income. A nurse earning $60,000 pays on every single dollar. The system is not broken. The system is working perfectly for the people who designed it. The second pillar is inflation, and this is where the extraction becomes truly elegant because most people do not even recognize it as theft. They think of inflation as a natural economic phenomenon, like weather, something that just happens. But inflation in the modern American economy is a policy choice implemented deliberately by the Federal Reserve, and it functions as a hidden tax that falls disproportionately on people who save money in cash and earn linear income. The Federal Reserve has an explicit target of 2% annual inflation. They state this publicly. They pursue it actively. And they consider a success when prices rise by 2% every year. Think about what this means. If you earn $1 today and save it in a bank account, next year that dollar will only buy 98 cents worth of goods. In 10 years, it will buy about 82 cents worth. In 30 years, the length of a typical career, that dollar will have lost nearly half its purchasing power. Saving money in cash is a guaranteed losing strategy. The system punishes you for not spending, but it punishes you even more brutally if you cannot invest in assets that outpace inflation. Here is a mechanism that makes this truly insidious. When the Federal Reserve creates new money, which it does constantly through various mechanisms, that money does not enter the economy evenly. It enters through the banking system and flows first to large financial institutions, then to corporations, then to asset owners, and only eventually, through wages that lag years behind, does it reach workers. By the time new money reaches your paycheck, asset prices have already risen to reflect the increased money supply. The people closest to the money printer benefit from spending new dollars before prices adjust. The people furthest from the money printer, which is you, experience only the price increases. Economists call this a Cantillon effect, named after an 18th century banker who first described it. It means that money creation is not neutral. It systematically transfers wealth from workers and savers to asset owners and borrowers. Every time the Fed prints money, every time they engage in quantitative easing, every time they suppress interest rates to stimulate the economy, they are making your labor worth less and making existing assets worth more. This is why asset prices have become completely disconnected from wages over the past 50 years. In 1970, the median home price was about 2 times the median household income. Today, it is nearly 8 times. Did houses become 4 times better? Did land become 4 times more scarce? No. The money supply exploded, and that money flowed into assets while wages stagnated. Your parents could buy a house on a single income because the ratio between labor and assets had not yet been destroyed. You cannot because you are living in the aftermath of 50 years of deliberate monetary policy that transferred wealth from workers to owners. This is not a market outcome. This is a policy outcome. And the policy continues because the people who benefit from it are the same people who fund political campaigns and sit on Federal Reserve boards and own the media companies that explain economics to you. The third pillar is consumer debt, and this is where the system closes a loop and becomes a perfect trap. Taxation ensures you cannot keep much of what you earn. Inflation ensures you cannot save what remains. Consumer debt ensures you spend not only what you have, but what you will earn in the future. The American economy requires consumer spending to function. 70% of GDP is consumer spending. If Americans ever collectively decided to save their money, to live below their means, to stop buying things they do not need, the economy would collapse into depression within months. The system does not merely allow consumer debt. The system requires it. This is why the entire financial infrastructure is designed to make debt easy, attractive, and socially normalized. Credit cards are marketed to 18-year-olds before they have any financial literacy. Car loans stretch to 7 years to make monthly payments look manageable while you pay 50% more than the vehicle is worth. Mortgages extend to 30 years, ensuring you pay more in interest than in principal while banks profit from your need for shelter. Student loans are the only form of debt that cannot be discharged in bankruptcy, trapping young people in obligations they cannot escape no matter how bad their circumstances become. And the credit score system, that 3-digit number that determines so much of your financial life, is not actually a measure of financial responsibility. It is a measure of profitable debt behavior. You do not build a good credit score by being financially responsible. You do not build it by saving money or living below your means or paying cash for everything. You build a good credit score by taking on debt and making regular payments, by being a reliable source of interest income for financial institutions. The system literally rewards you for being in debt and penalizes you for avoiding it. Try to rent an apartment or get a job or buy insurance with no credit history. You will discover that the system is designed to force participation. Now, here is the question that should be burning in your mind. If all of this is true, if the entire system is designed to extract wealth from workers and transfer to owners, why do people defend it? Why do working-class Americans argue passionately against policies that would benefit them? Why do people who will never own significant assets worry about capital gains taxes on the wealthy? The answer is the most elegant part of the system, the narrative. From childhood, Americans are taught that this is a meritocracy, that hard work leads to success, that the wealthy earn their positions through superior effort and intelligence, that poverty is a personal failure rather than a systemic outcome. This narrative serves a crucial function. It makes people blame themselves for outcomes that are structurally determined. When someone cannot afford a house, they do not question why houses cost 8 times the median income. They question their own worth. They wonder why they did not work harder, save more, make better choices. The system extracts their wealth and then convinces them it was their fault. The financial literacy industry is part of this narrative machine. They will tell you to skip the coffee, to create a budget, to pay off your credit cards with the snowball method. And none of this advice is wrong. Exactly. It is just catastrophically incomplete. You can budget perfectly and still never build wealth because the mathematics of taxation, inflation, and debt make wealth building nearly impossible on linear income alone. The advice to simply spend less assumes that the gap between income and expenses is large enough to matter. For tens of millions of Americans, that gap does not exist. They are not broke because they buy coffee. They are broke because housing costs 40% of their income, because healthcare bankruptcies are the leading cause of financial ruin, because wages have not kept pace with productivity for 50 years, because the system is designed to leave them with nothing at the end of each month. So what is the asymmetric upside here? What is the path through a system designed to trap you? The answer is brutal but simple. You must stop playing by the rules that were designed for your disadvantage and start playing by the rules that were designed for the advantage of owners. This means understanding that linear income, trading time for money, is a trap, no matter how high your salary. If you are earning W-2 income, you are being taxed at the highest rates, and you are running on a treadmill that moves backward. The goal is not to earn more linear income. The goal is to convert linear income into equity positions as rapidly as possible. This means ownership stakes in businesses, real estate that generates cash flow and appreciates, investments in index funds that compound over decades. It means understanding that the tax code, for all its injustice, contains instructions for how to pay less. Every deduction, every credit, every qualified account, every depreciation schedule is a message from the system about what behavior it wants to encourage. The wealthy read these messages and act accordingly. The working class ignores them and pays full price. It means using debt strategically rather than destructively. The wealthy borrow against appreciating assets at low interest rates to acquire more appreciating assets. The poor borrow against their future labor at high interest rates to acquire depreciating consumer goods. Same tool, opposite outcomes. It means extending your time horizon beyond the next paycheck, beyond the next year, beyond the next decade. The system is designed to keep you focused on immediate consumption because people focus on the short term make decisions that benefit the system. People focus on the long term, on capital allocation over 30 or 40 years. Accumulate wealth despite the system's best efforts to prevent it. Most importantly, it means understanding that you are not operating in a neutral environment. Every financial decision you make is being made inside a system that has preferences about what you should do. And those preferences are not aligned with your interests. The default path, the path of least resistance, the path that requires no conscious choice, leads to 40 years of labor and a retirement of anxiety and dependence. The non-default path requires constant, conscious resistance against a system that has been optimized over generations to extract everything you have. Ask yourself this question, and I want you to actually sit with it. If you continue on your current path, if you change nothing, if you make no adjustments to how you earn, save, spend, and invest, where will you be in 30 years? Run the numbers. Account for taxation, inflation, and the debt you are likely to accumulate. Be honest with yourself. Is that destination acceptable? Is that the life you want to hand to your children? The system is not going to change. The people who benefit from it have too much power, too much money, and too much incentive to maintain it exactly as it is. Waiting for political solutions is waiting for salvation that will never arrive. The only variable in this equation that you control is your own behavior, your own awareness, your own willingness to stop being the product that the system was designed to consume. $2 million will flow through your hands over your working life. The system's default setting is to take nearly all of it. Your only defense is to understand exactly how the extraction works and to build a strategy that routes around it. This is not about getting rich. This is about not getting destroyed by a machine that was built specifically to destroy you while convincing you that your destruction was your own fault. The invisible system is only invisible to those who have never looked. Now you have looked. What you do with this information is the only thing that matters.